Good afternoon, traders. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Oh, not much going on there in the position disclosure. Wow. 9 positions. This options position is like nothing. A couple of these positions are very small, and some of them have been liquidated partially. Pretty light on the position disclosure. I feel like I don't know how I feel about how light I am actually. I could be even lighter, I guess. But it feels good. Feels good. All right. Let's jump in. So pretty wild day today. I was gone for a good bit of the midday session. Dell ripping. Dell, the future. Is Dell what was their slogan? Were they like got a Dell dude or something like that? Or were they the carrot top guy? Can't remember any of this stuff anymore. Nice breakout. It's very clean resistance level in this Dell. Breaking higher. Computers are back. Go get a gateway. All right. MDB. Wow. I think Varun always likes this company. All right, let's jump in. Are we up $1 after hours? Am I reading that right? Okay, we closed. $5.58.27. Yeah, we're up $1 after hours. Doesn't feel like much. This market's been pretty whippy intraday. Yet we still only close. This is including $1 pop after hours. Up 0.17%. So we would close like pretty flat today. They did catch that bit. Yeah. We closed like very flat today. So it seemed like a fairly whippy day, right? Gap up, big move higher. We got to a high of 363.50 and then had this big sell-off to drop us down $6. Yet we finished flat. So what does that do to the vol funds? It gives them more impetus to buy, which is actually pretty crazy. So SPYs, flat. Now they're up $1 after hours, so up 0.17%. Qs here are up over $1 after hours, so I think the Qs closed actually negative. Now they're up 0.1%. And the IWM is also up 50 cents or so after hours here. So decent pop as soon as the market closed. Now the Russell's up 0.9%. It's definitely where the relative strength is. All right. Let's take a look at our charts here. So the SPYs, SPYs are still in range. It's an interesting candle here, though. Yesterday we had a little bit of a downside tail. Today we have a little bit of a doji. So it's an indecision day, but it's within a consolidation that tends to be not something that you want to overread. Like if I was just doing straight candlestick analysis on the daily chart, I would say you don't want to overread this candle. But when I look at the 5-minute chart, there might be something to this price action today insofar as the indecision thought process, because we had this really strong morning, right? And that was despite NVDA. NVDA well off yesterday's after hours lows, but still down in the morning. The SPYs and the Qs were able to be very strong at the beginning of the day because of the rest of the Mag 7 complex, particularly Apple and Microsoft were on fire this morning. And that really helped to propel the SPYs and Qs higher. But the IWM was leading. Equal weight was trading well. RSP was trading well after the first. Well, the IWM was actually and the RSP were pretty gross for the first half hour. But after they went red and created this hammer and worked their way back up, they actually traded very, very well. And the QQQE, equal weighted Qs, was also trading pretty well throughout the day. So I think it was actually a good breadth day. Apple and Microsoft leading, NVIDIA pulling the market down a little bit. Some of these other semis like AMD were kind of doing nothing. They weren't participating in the upside with Apple, and then they rolled down a little bit in the afternoon. But there might be something to read in this price action here, intraday. Like, we're always taught or teach that the definition of a doji candle is that it represents indecision or change, or it could just be simply part of a consolidation and you don't want to overread it. So when I'm looking at this daily chart, the first thing that I want to say is, well, it's part of a consolidation, so I don't want to overread it. But it was such an important trading day today that even though the SPYs stayed within their range, there might be more to this doji. This might be representing a little more indecision or change, possibly. Let's see if this can actually lead to some follow through to the downside. I'm curious. We still have a lot of strong underlying bid and seasonality of this market that seems like it's been holding things up. But otherwise, there's been a few glimpses that I've been seeing where it looks like this market wants to go down, but then always runs into at least some sort of a bid. And today I almost feel like is another example of that. So much strength this morning. Could have been working towards a breakout on the daily chart of this bull flag, right? This 463 to 465 is a hugely important resistance area where if you break out of that, then you're breaking out to all-time highs. You could start to get the FOMO rally and everything else. But we tested it today and we failed. Despite Apple, despite Microsoft, despite strong breath, we tested it and we failed. And then we had a very heavy sell-off in that afternoon session, which I know only got us back down to like unchanged. But it kind of maybe is showing me a little more indecision. So same thing though, your same levels are still intact. So I'm not going to be here tomorrow or next week or the week after that. But if I was, I would just take note of today and really be prepared for this 555. It's really like 554 to 55 on the downside, or this 563 to 565 on the upside to break and get follow through. And time is bullish. We keep saying that time is bullish. It's bullish for a couple of reasons. One, because it allows these moving averages to catch up, so you start to get more technical support over time. But also because of the systematics that have had a strong underlying bid to this market. And as we get days like today where you technically close unchanged, it allows for a greater impetus of buying to come from vol control, and CTAs are still buying. But at a certain point, I don't know, it almost seems like this market should be higher by now, which is crazy if you consider the fact that we were just at 510 recently. Maybe I'm overreading it. I'm just looking at this out loud and finding it interesting as I'm talking to you guys. But if we can't actually break higher here, it might be a signal for lower. We should break up soon, I think, if we're going to go. And then if we don't, well, watch that 555 on the downside to lead to some sort of deeper correction. The Qs are a little bit weaker. The IWM is stronger. IWM tried to create a pivot low yesterday to continue this trend higher. And the big question that I posited this morning was off the NVIDIA move, so NVIDIA down, but not the end of the world, right? NVIDIA closed relatively weak, closed near lows, down 6%, but not a disaster. So I actually felt that this NVIDIA earnings report is very potentially bullish for the rotation trade. Because if NVIDIA just rips higher and is above 130 after this earnings report today on just incredible numbers, then you easily could go back into that situation of there's only so much money that's out there and they're all buying NVIDIA and they're all buying Apple and they're all buying Microsoft. So the market continues to go higher every day even though the rest of the market doesn't. If you had a really disaster of an earnings report, if I'm looking at NVIDIA, $100 today, closing at lows, I would say, ooh, this is so bad that it's wrecking the SPYs, it's wrecking the Qs, and at a certain point will actually impact the IWM also because correlations will increase into a bigger sell-off. But a more moderate sell-off, being down on the day but not even fulfilling the full options expectation, potentially just sets you up for rotation. And that's what I'm looking for more than anything, is to see if it means that NVIDIA can take a break and that the IWM can catch a little bit of a bid. The one concern I have about the IWM, which isn't really too much of a concern to be honest, but it's a little bit of a concern, is what I continue to say about, I think that the market is still overpricing the probability of a 50 basis point cut. And the lower interest rate expectations are, the better it is for the IWM. So if I'm right, and if the market needs to unprice that extra percentage of the 50 basis point cut, that could create some heaviness to the Russell. But maybe not so much that it counters the weight of new money coming into it off of a little bit of a rebalance of NVIDIA not performing as well. So that's kind of the biggest thing I'm paying attention to. And then immediately off the open today, when I saw the IWM sell down and the Qs catch a bid, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm wrong. At least in this moment. I'm wrong. The market, off the 830 numbers, had interest rates moving higher this morning. Maybe that means I haven't seen the update on the probability of a 50 basis point cut in September since the 830 number hit. But just looking at it, it appears that... just looking at it, it appears that the market did take a little bit out of that today. So, and then when I saw the IWM sell off for the first 25 minutes, I was like, okay, I guess I was wrong on that idea. But then the IWM came absolutely roaring back. But it was while the Qs caught a bid, because NVIDIA took a break today, but Apple was on fire and Microsoft was on fire. So I don't know. It's a really interesting market. Let's just go back to our daily charts here. You know the important levels for the SPYs. So the SPYs are more muted than either the Qs or the IWM. The Qs here are weaker, but they haven't even gotten into this gap. It wouldn't be impossible at all for the Qs to work their way down to 463. I liquidated my QQQ short position today, but I would not have liquidated that position. I would not have liquidated that position if I wasn't going away. But I got rid of that, and I got rid of a lot of long exposure that it was helping me to hedge a little bit, because I do think that there's a decent probability that these Qs pull back further. But does that mean that the SPYs have to break 555? Not necessarily, if the Qs pull back further with the IWM catching a bid and RSP catching a bid. So we'll see. You guys will have a lot of fun while I'm gone, because this has been an interesting market. I have started to find it a little bit difficult to have conviction in this market in the most recent leg of this rally. So for me, I'm actually really relieved to take a step back, because I haven't been trading with as much conviction the last couple of weeks as I would like. So I think this is a great opportunity for me to reset a little bit. That's pretty much all that I've got from a market perspective, from a trading perspective today. There's a few great call outs on the team. There were some index level call outs. Josh had a great SMCI call out at the high. I had a couple, I think, I called the high in NVIDIA. I shorted on the way up in NVIDIA, like 123.90s. Then I shorted more at 124 quarter. And then I had a sell stop on the way down to add back through 124 on the way down. And that ended up being the high. This 124 was resistance after hours. That actually turned out to be a really, really good trade. And then I, shorted like a couple cute little shorts off this retest of the 80 MA at 1025. That specifically because I was very not greedy, I was also able to make money on that. And then I went to a lunch meeting and stopped trading it. That was the main thing that I did, was just a few of these singles and doubles scalpy type trades for NVIDIA that actually made me more money than I would have expected for the size that I put on those trades. So it's good. And that's my thought process in the indexes. So that's all I got. I'm happy to do a quick one today. I haven't even started packing yet, and I actually feel like I'm catching a cold, which is a disaster. But I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. from Rich. If we are a T3 trading group trader and like to trade while on vacation, both foreign and domestic, and be in compliance, and what's the proper process to follow? I don't think you have to do anything if you're traveling within the United States. But if you're traveling outside of the United States, you have to request approval for compliance, and you have to tell them where you're going to be and how long you're going to be there. Which, actually, thanks for reminding me, because I need to shoot compliance an email and let them know that I'm really not planning on doing much trading while I'm gone. I'm going to try to avoid it. It's the main reason why I size down these positions so much. But I'm probably going to log in a little bit, and I'm definitely going to try to read Pat's note every day. Do you have to tell them when you trade in a kimono or in a pagoda, or from a pagoda, or from a pagoda in a kimono? No, I think if you're working from home and you're not on the video camera like I am at some point in the afternoon meetings, you could probably wear a kimono or whatever else your fancy is. I don't even want to know what Josh wears when he's working from home. All right, that covers the initial questions from the VTF. Let me attempt to log into the YouTube to see if there's any questions coming from there. From Cyril, the IWM is more volatile today. I was surprised to see it sell off at the end. Yeah, the IWM, see, this is what I'm talking about correlations can pick up on the downside, though it was in a small way. The Qs seemed to me like they went first, and the IWM was still trying to hold in better and show strength, and then eventually just started to sell off also. But yeah, at a certain point in a bigger down move, I think it begins to pull all the indexes down, even if otherwise there can be relative strength. From Uvixi Bulla, covered my put in the morning on NVIDIA for a good profit, but almost didn't want to. NVIDIA seems to have gotten cheaper from a price and multiple perspective. Do you like it here for the long term? I do believe that NVIDIA has gotten cheaper from a multiple perspective, but that's because growth expectations have gone down. So it should be getting cheaper at this point, I think, from a multiple perspective. Do I like it for a long-term investment here at 118? I'll be honest, not really. I'm kind of very neutral on it on this price, because it depends on what the growth looks like. You know, it depends on if they're not trading at their highest multiple ever, but it's still a high multiple relative to, I don't know, a non-growth company. So while their numbers are still insane the way they're growing, it's still less than it was. So that multiple should come down a little bit. And the question is, should it be coming down more? I mean, I don't want to use the Cisco example from the tech bubble in the 90s, but at that time, instead of the saying was, hey, instead of trying to choose the internet company, own the rails, right? And the rails to the internet are Cisco. So Cisco traded at an insane multiple and eventually came down. I'm not saying that NVIDIA is going to become the next Cisco and go the way of Cisco or anything like that, but in time, as the company matures more and as the AI growth becomes more established, then the multiple for NVIDIA should slowly go down over time. So I would say that I'm Stefan in the YouTube. So I would say that I'm pretty neutral on that one. From Cyril, SMCI has an inside day. Do you think it's too early to look long? I'd be very careful on this SMCI if they're having an accounting issue. It's not something that I want to be long. I actually think that the stock's a little bit expensive still also. I would avoid this. I mean, maybe a quick day trade, whatever, fine. Quick inside and up day trade, fine. But I'd be very careful about anything big picture in SMCI right now. I don't want to touch this. And I think it's a hard stock to trade generally. So I would avoid that. Pat and possibly Josh should be doing the afternoon meetings when I'm away, yes. And I think Josh is all set up to do them on the YouTube and everything. So hopefully there's no issues with that. What's up, Stefan? Yeah, man, SoFi was a monster today. Stefan and I both like SoFi. This is one that I did not liquidate in front of my vacation, nor did I even reduce any of my position in this thing in front of my vacation, which most things I either liquidated entirely or reduced. This one I did not. Peloton looks, I mean, not Peloton, SoFi looks great above $8 technically, and I think this thing belongs to 12 still. So we'll see when, how, and if it can get up there. Thanks for joining, Stefan. I'm not seeing anything else in the VTF. Not seeing anything else in the YouTube. I got to pack, vacation tomorrow, so quick afternoon meeting today. Have a wonderful night, everyone. And I'll see everybody in about 2 weeks or so. Adios.